We continue the top-down design process by describing each dimension in greater detail. The first type of dimension we have is the star schema dimension. A star schema is the term we use to describe the denormalized structure of a data warehouse, which contains fact tables and dimension tables. When we use the term with a dimension, we mean that the dimension has only a single table. Here we have the sales territory dimension. At minimum, we have a key column to uniquely identify each record in the table. Often this is a primary key, which might also be known as a surrogate key in data warehousing. We also need to specify a data type for the column. Optionally, we can have another column associated with the key column to display a label, because the primary key could be a number that's meaningless to the users, but it's associated with a name that is meaningful, such as South or West for a region. Here we indicate that we need a separate column to store that label. And we continue adding other columns to hold additional data related to the dimension. We might have a column to store the source key from the source used to populate the data warehouse, or other columns to use as alternate ways to group our measures. We can also have columns that we use for filtering or sorting, although those columns are not shown here. The second type of dimension structure that we might use is a snowflake dimension. The snowflake dimension has one table per level. So in this example, we have a product level, a subcategory level, and a category level. Now in the wizard, we set these up as separate dimensions, but that's just a workaround. We won't really use these as separate dimensions in the final version of the database. But otherwise, the process is similar to the star schema. We set up the columns as needed. And notice here that we have several columns related to slowly changing dimensions to mark the time period when a version of a record is valid and its current status. Notice here we have several columns related to slowly changing dimensions, which is abbreviated as SCD. And those columns mark the time period when a version of a record is valid and also its current status. Also, in the snowflake dimension, we have columns in the lower levels to store a foreign key to the parent level.